Hey guys, welcome to another book versus film video-ish. I'm doing it this way because it's kind of inconvenient at the moment for me to use my camera. So I've kind of decided to do this video as a kind of voice recording, obviously, kind of like podcasty, because I've been going on for ages about how the point of book versus film was to review and how I was working up to reviews and how I haven't put up a review yet, so now I'm putting up a review. I was lucky enough to be sent an early ebook copy of Otherworld, and it was sent to me by Oneworld Publications via Netgalley for review, so thank you to them. Otherworld was written by Jason Segel, Jason Segel and Kirsten Miller, who also wrote the middle grade trilogy Nightmares. Now, being a fan of Jason in things like Freaks and Geeks and a fan of sci-fi, when I was sent a sci-fi book by Jason and Kirsten, I must admit I fangirled a little bit. Now, I went into this book knowing next to nothing. The synopsis I saw was vague and ominous, telling me only that Otherworld 2.0 was a virtual reality game and it could be dangerous. Now, obviously, with most books, it's good going into it without knowing not a lot. So I'm going to try not to give too much away. I'm going to hopefully kind of say enough about the actual storyline to get you interested, and then I'm going to kind of talk about what I liked and didn't like about the book itself. So Otherworld 2.0, like I said, is this virtual reality game. There's no laws, no limits, no consequences, and obviously with it being a game, there's no death. You can die, but like most games, you basically just restart and go back to the beginning. So there's a lot of kind of elements and kind of just gets you thinking about human behavior, which I kind of liked that there was that dark concept in a YA novel. But it was developed by this company known as The Company, who kind of become the head to the snake of this massive conspiracy that is the base for the book. Now, in the book, we have our main character, obviously, called Simon Eaton, and when we first meet him, he's actually in Otherworld, so the book starts off straight away in this virtual reality realm, so you kind of think, oh, it starts quite quickly. However, a few pages in, we're already back into normal reality, and Simon's dad basically steps on his virtual reality headset, so we're instantly thrown back into reality. And when we're in Simon's reality, we get to know Simon, and Simon spends this first kind of chunk in the normal world trying to figure out why his best friend in the whole entire world, Kat, has been ignoring him, and she's been hanging around with stoners and misfits, been hanging out with people who get into trouble, and literally staying as far away from Simon as possible. And we kind of learn how much Simon really cares about her. And with him kind of trying to figure it out, he does kind of stalk her a little bit. And he goes to this party in this abandoned factory where most of the high school students are getting drunk and whatnot. And he's on the floor above looking down at Kat, looking at everyone. And he sees this shadow that throws something into the crowd. And next thing you know, the floor has given way out under all these students. Some of the students die, a lot of people get hurt, but there's 4 people who have gathered this condition known as locked-in syndrome, which is where your body doesn't function, but your brain is awake and alive. And obviously, Kat gets locked-in syndrome. This is the cue for the company to come in with their new kind of virtual reality equipment that they want these kids to beta test, which is known as the White City, and it's a disc on the back of their head, and it's a virtual headset, and it's supposed to let people, like, kind of in this locked-in syndrome who can't move, who may never move again. It's supposed to let them have this whole world where they can walk and do whatever they want, which at first kind of seems like a good idea, but you instantly have these sinister undertones, and Simon has a lot of questions and not getting a lot of answers. And what really starts off this book is the fact that with locked-in syndrome, they can't talk, they cannot move, they cannot do anything. But one night at the hospital, Kat actually screams and grabs Simon's hand. Now, when this happens, no one is believing him. He's thrown out of the hospital. He needs to get to Kat, and he finds out that Kat, like other people, have been sent to this facility where they're going to be under the disc in this White City. Somebody sends him his own disc with a note that says, go and find her. And now this is the premise for the whole novel, which I may have said a couple times, but that's what it is. It's basically this virtual reality chase, him trying to find his best friend, and also the people involved in this conspiracy and what's really going on, kind of chasing Simon and Kat. So it can get very, very tense. And what happens is, with these virtual realities, the White City and Otherworld kind of mixed together. Now, there's obviously a few other little points, there's a lot of twists and turns, but I'm not going to talk you through the whole book, because, like I said, I don't really want to give too much away, and I know it probably sounds like I already have, but I kind of struggled to put it in like 3 sentences. I really wanted you to know that we were in reality, and then virtual reality in the disc, and why you've just possibly listened to all that. Anyway, okay, now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the actual kind of structure and stuff of the book, and hopefully I won't ramble too much and it will sound marginally interesting. In terms of writing, I enjoyed the writing. It was really easy to read, it flowed really quickly, and I liked the fact that it was all from Simon's perspective, it was all from Simon's thoughts and feelings. It helped you understand him as a character. You felt kind of tension and grief a lot more, I think, than if the author had talked about Simon. Also, it made the whole conspiracy and tension within the novel slightly less cliche, because it was just how Simon thought about it. It was written how Simon would do it, so I was very comfortable with that. Also, with the writing and talking about Simon's perspective, and that it was from Simon's kind of words, I genuinely liked the fact that very occasionally Simon swore. I know you do get that in YA sometimes, but you don't get it that much, and certain characters would swear, whether they're 16 or 18. I know I was swearing probably younger than 16, and the kind of person Simon is, he's definitely a dude that would swear, so I'm really glad that he did, and it wasn't over the top, or it wasn't just one in there. He did it like there was normal human reactions, which I think made him easier to read. Speaking about Simon, I actually did not like Simon in the first few pages. He was part of this area, his parents are rich, but they're extremely neglectful, and so kind of when Simon spoke and the way he saw himself, it made him like, yeah, he had this kind of cool, rebellious, isolated thing about him, but he was kind of pretentiously rebellious, and I generally was reading this series and was like, you're a bit of a dick. He had some comedy elements to it, but he had this whole kind of I don't care vibe, but wanted you to know he didn't care, and sometimes that can come across really annoying. Luckily for this book though, they fixed that, and for me, I kind of connected that to, it was supposed to show, like, exaggerate when he was vulnerable when talking about Kat, and how the fact that he cared for Kat was genuinely a big deal, and it added to the fact that he was a flawed character, and everybody loves a flawed character. I was like, okay, I kind of understand why this guy's a dick, but then he had these other moments where I was like, oh my god, okay. The dynamic between the characters was really good, really, really good, especially when we're in, like, Otherworld. There's all sorts of different kind of creatures and avatars and people that Simon talked to, and there's people that we keep around, and the kind of relationships worked really well. You had very different kinds of people. You had some that seemed adult and some that seemed childish, and the kind of mix of dynamics and age groups kind of made it one full circle. And then obviously you have Simon and Kat themselves, who aren't actually together very much in the novel, but we go back in time sometimes. We find out how they met and when they spent time together, and just, I think their relationship was written very well. Nobody was less than the other one. It was very real, and I felt quite deep emotion. I remember in my first sitting of this book, I read the first 180 pages in one sitting, and I was completely in love with the friendship that Simon and Kat had. When I was reading the book, I hit a bit of a lull, just under 3/4 of the way in, where I was more on edge and tense about what would happen in reality rather than in Otherworld. It was very much concept trumped actuality around this point, and I don't know if that kind of makes it a good book or if it's actually a bad point to make. But that was one thing I definitely concluded with this novel. Although I enjoyed the kind of visuals and concepts of Otherworld and some bits were really good, I found my heart beating faster in certain parts of reality. I also want to say as well, in switching between reality and virtual reality and kind of having the freedom to be whatever kind of world, that although overall this is a sci-fi book, this book does not only take you on a roller coaster of emotions, it also takes you on a roller coaster of genre. There is a lot of things that you recognize and that you can pull out from different stories just from settings alone. Like, it's very hard to describe some without giving spoilers, but I will give you an example. If you don't want to hear the example, then put your fingers in your ears. So with Otherworld, 1 minute we're in a realm that reminded me of, like, it was very Viking-ish, and then we had, like, another bit that actually reminded of me of, like a Twisted Oz, like the Dorothy Must Die series, because there's these monkeys and stuff like that. You literally change from one thing to the other. So overall, I gave this book on Goodreads, I think I gave it a 3 stars, but I'd probably give it a 3.5. It was a nice little sci-fi book. That was the point I wanted to make about the end without saying anything about the end. The last page I actually had to read more than once to understand what it was saying. That's all I'm gonna say. Maybe I read it wrong, maybe it was just me, maybe I had a dumb moment, but I genuinely had to read the last page and was like, wait a minute, are they saying this? Or I don't know, but like I said, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it. I had some great moments. I had some moments where I was kind of like, okay, right. But then it always, every time it went down, it always brought it back. I definitely enjoyed the experience of reading this book. And now, Otherworld, I believe the publication date is the 31st of October, so it's an actual Halloween release. If you like thrillers, if you like sci-fi, conspiracy, then I would definitely go for it. The thing is, as well, with the different realms, there's like almost fantasy elements and whatnot. I do think this is a YA novel that will fit with a lot of people for very different reasons. I think I even saw something that might have kind of given it a comparison to Ready Player One. Obviously, I've never read Ready Player One, but this is not a book of nostalgia or necessarily any kind of pop culture references, which I know is what a lot of people like in Ready Player One. This is definitely more about character and the human brain, and even a tiny bit of cannibalism, which is always fun. And reading this book, I know you kind of play the story in your head, but I definitely saw it more as a movie. It was like watching a movie in my head, and it had that classic, which is quite popular in YA, maybe a little bit less now. It had that classic trope of it's the teenagers versus the adults, and there were some bits in the actual reality aspect of it that made me think of Maze Runner, the movie, not the books. It made me think of the movie, and I could see like Thomas and Wicked and stuff and things like that. So it's definitely got that action, probably a little bit gorier than it should be kind of thing that you get in a YA novel. So yeah, Otherworld by Jason Segel and Kirsten Miller. Go check it out. Go check their middle grade novels out as well, because I super want to. And it sounds like it would be an epic Halloween read, so maybe this month I will move on to more of their books. I'll leave the link below for my Goodreads account with my short review on it there, and you can look it up and you can look at other books I reviewed. And also, I'm doing my reading challenge for 50 books by the end of the year, and I'm on 35, so far, so good. Anyway, thank you for watching, or rather listening to me. Hopefully it wasn't as much as a ramble. Obviously I would have edited down for you guys, so it's probably more of a ramble for me than it is you, hopefully. I don't know if I'm going to keep this as a thing where I do reviews via audio recording rather than video recording. It all kind of depends on convenience and equipment, but I will keep you guys updated by rather posting a voice review or a video review. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I've got a few more coming in the next couple weeks, so like, comment, subscribe, and all my social medias and whatnot are down below. I've managed to not say that I'm terrible at ending videos in a video for a couple of videos, but I am not entirely sure how to end an audio recording, so bye!